Hey, John here. Here's lick of the day number 115. This is an A Dorian picking run. As usual, I'm gonna play it slow once and then break it down. And then after the breakdown, I'm gonna share some practice advice that you can apply to this one and pretty much anything else that you're practicing. So that said, we're starting on the 5th fret of the B string. Right, Dorian is the second mode of the major scale, and if you're not familiar with the scale itself, it's like a natural minor scale but with a natural sixth. So the spelling would be 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. So it's this sixth that gives it sound. And this is actually more of a Dorian and blues mix, which you hear quite a lot from different players. So what I mean by that is that basically I just added the flat 5 to in two places basically. So we start here with this Paul Gilbert thing. So there's gonna be 5, 6, 7, 5 and then back. And then we're gonna go up. So same frets again, very easy position to remember. So 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. Then we're gonna shift up and gonna go down 10, 8, 7 on both E and B. Then we're gonna go up to 8, the index finger, and we're gonna go up 8, 10, 12, and then the pure Dorian scale would just be, but again we add this, the flat 5 again as a passing tone in this case. And I added this in this particular instance because I wanted to keep it to 6 notes per beat. And if I would go up like this, I would end up with 5 notes and would be a bit weird. So I just chucked this note in there, and it just happens to work really well because it's the flat 5 that we already heard here. So it worked out quite nicely. So after that scale run, we end up on E here. We're gonna go down this, basically it looks very much like an A minor arpeggio, because it is. So we got the E, C, A, E, C, A. But then instead of playing the E here, we play F sharp. And if you put F sharp together with A, C, and E, you actually get F sharp minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. And in this context, it really screams Dorian. But this concept is called superimposing arpeggios, but it's just the actual arpeggio itself. So, but we're getting a 7th chord, but we're basically using the normal A minor triad shape and just changing the bottom note. So it's quite a handy thing when you start getting into that, because instead of having to learn a billion new shapes, you can use shapes you already know, but in a different context and get different sounds. So the notes here would be 12, 8, and then we got 10 on the B string, 9 on the G, 10, 12 on D and A, and then 9 here on the A string. And I picked this down, pull up, up, down, hammer, down, 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 down. Then we don't play this note, but we slide from this, the vicinity of this note, but you don't really want to go, because we tried to get this note on the beat, so you have to do quite a quick slide there. Sometimes you get lucky and it works, but basically we're sliding up to 17 on the high E string. So we got the A here, and we go down the normal A minor arpeggio, sort of end the phrase. So the last half of the lick would be this. All right, so we put everything together again, and then really notice these groups of 6. So practice-wise here, I will advise you to divide everything into groups of 6. So you can use you can work on each group individually and then put them together. So first of all, we got this sort of reverse Paul Gilbert lick. And I say reverse because he tends to start with an upstroke on these kind of pick and runs. So this one, just move it up and down on each string group, and I would work on all the fingerings actually, because that makes it a really comprehensive picking exercise. And when I say all the fingerings in this case, I just mean using 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So if you apply that to this first position, 1, 2, 3 would sound like this. And then you go 1, 2, 4. And then 1, 3, 4, and that's like the original. And then we got 2, 3, 4. And then you can move it up to the next string group. Or, you know, do it in one position, move it up one fret, do it all in one position again, or just simply move it on one string group at a time. So that's pretty much up to you. And then the next one's just this ascending 6. Do the same, use the different fingerings, because again, it's a bit more comprehensive than just doing the lick itself. And then you have descending 6. Now for this next group of ascending 6s, we're gonna go like this. And I think this one you probably should practice as is, because it's a bit of a different feel to this one. If we're trying to get up to that note, right? But it's a good idea to work on this one in particular, because this kind of added note thing is, I think, is a very cool sound, and you're probably going to use it in a lot of different contexts. So it's a good idea to really get used to this picking thing. And then basically work on the arpeggio. Just move it up and down the fretboard. And then do the same with this one. Even though we're only descending here, it's still a good idea to add the ascending part when you practice it. So, and move it around, like I said. After that, it's a very good idea to start combining these if possible. So if we take the first group of 6 and the second group of 6, so that becomes a really good picking exercise. You can do it the same way with the different fingerings. And so on. And then you take this group of 6 and combine it with this one. So you wouldn't go straight to this one, because you need to work on transition from, if we would group the groups of 6, or number the groups of 6 like this. So this is the first one, second one, third, fourth. Then you would do 1 and 2 first, like we did, and then you would do 2 and 3. So don't skip that. So you would go 2, 3, 2, 3. And again, you can just do that with the patterns as well. And side note here, whenever there's shifting involved in licks like these, when I use these finger patterns, I just tend to do a half step. So that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 4. So as you can see, moving my half step. 1, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. The next group, when you go from 3 to 4, it's kind of tricky when you go back here, but it's a good thing to work on. And again, move this up and down the fretboard, very important. So and I'm kind of rushing through these now, and I wouldn't do that if I'm actually practicing them, but I don't want to bore you to death. But I would, you know, generally I sit around in tempos like these, where I can really focus on the transitions. So really found that that's very helpful for the synchronization and getting a good sound. Now, before we go to the arpeggios, and put them together like that, we also need to make sure that we take group number 4 this one and going into the arpeggio, right? So, because that transition is not, you know, something you should take for granted, because that's usually where we tend to screw up, when we have these seams in our playing where we go from one technique to the next, and that should be seamless. I think that for the best sound. And I think, like, if you listen to someone like Frank Gambale, it's like always seamless. It's hard to tell whether he's playing on a scale or an arpeggio line specifically. It's just music basically. So you need to work on that, I think. So the way that I would do it, take this one. So I have 6 notes, and I want to keep this one to 6 notes as well. And there's different ways you can do it, but it's a bit tricky when you go into sweep picking though, if you want to keep the sort of integrity of the alternate pick line, because it's kind of pointless for learning this lick in particular, at least, to break up the picking. And what I mean by that is that if I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then go down the whole way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then I would end up on a downstroke here and would have to play an upstroke here. And you know, technically there's nothing wrong with that as its own exercise or phrase, but since we're doing this in a context of this entire lick, you kind of want to keep it the same. So what I do there, I'm going to do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's a given. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we go straight back. So there's going to be quite a big string skip here in the middle of a sweep. So this is going to be quite tricky. But the important thing is that we're working on the transition. Because if we can do that, it doesn't really, I mean, in the exercise itself, when we repeat it, we're gonna have to go back like that, which is good for your picking overall. But you don't need to be able to do that as fast as the actual lick, because once you get into the sweep, then you're in sort of sweep picking land, at least for this phrase. So I would do it like this. One thing that can help a lot here is to use something called planting in the right hand. So basically you do this. So basically you prepare the pick as soon as you play the previous notes. When I play this note, immediately I'm preparing the pick for the next note. Same thing here, and then for the changing the string. So I'm already on the E string now, even though my finger's here. And you need to do this very slowly and try not to dig in too much. So and then move this up and down the fretboard as well. So right, so try these different practice techniques. So basically what we did, we just took each group of 6, numbered it, and then made sure to be able to play each one individually. And then we took 2 groups at a time. Because if you can do that, you should be able to technically go through the entire lick. Because we sort of chained together everything already, the way that it's gonna come out in the actual lick. And as you saw here in the last thing that we did, when it comes to the picking stuff, we worked on the transition, and that transitional exercise was actually harder than the actual lick itself. And I didn't even show the sweep picking thing here, but you just take you worked on them individually, and then you just put them together. So you go between this one and this one. So as a separate exercise. And again, moving that up and down the fretboard. All right, that's it for this one. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.